I'm going to say something and it's going to sound completely opposite.
If you were a student today, how would you prepare for the future?
So, move forward would be for me.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Zaya and Mia's AI Adventure. Whether I'm talking with parents in my neighborhood or with coworkers at my company, the number one question on everyone's mind is, with AI changing everything so fast, how do we prepare our kids for a future we can't even predict? It's a huge question, but from my work as an AI engineer and a mom, I've come to believe the answer isn't about one specific school subject. It's about building a certain kind of mind. And it all starts with one foundational superpower, the ability to solve complicated problems. In a world where AI can give us answers instantly, our greatest human strength is tackling the big, messy problems that don't have a simple solution. This all comes down to critical thinking. For our kids, we can think of it like this. Imagine a giant 1,000-piece Lego set with no instructions. It looks impossible. But critical thinking is that skill that lets you look at the big pile, and instead of feeling overwhelmed, you start breaking it down. Okay, first, I'll find all the blue pieces. Then I'll build the foundation. That process, breaking a big idea into small, manageable steps, is the heart of all great innovation. So how do we get good at this? Well, from what I see working in tech, the best problem solvers are the ones who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty and just try. It's less about memorizing facts and more about creative hands-on application. And it's reassuring to know that the leaders of the biggest tech companies feel the exact same way. I've often heard Google's CEO, Sundar Pichai, talk about the importance of experiential learning and encouraging kids to take risks.
Move forward would be for me, if I look at what is needed to solve the next generation of problems, creativity is an important attribute. I think so. Encouraging more creativity through the educational system. Today, I do think our educational system values, rigorous academic knowledge over necessarily, being more creative in how you approach education. I think that's important. Another thing I would say is, and I think I've seen it in the best schools in the U.S., etc. It's what I call it's very experiential, very hands-on. People learn how to do things by doing them, and not just by learning about them, right? And I think that's a big, big difference. So, to me, so allowing a system in which there's a lot more creativity, learning how to get things done by hand, and so much more of a project-based experiential learning are all, I think, trends which the Indian educational system needs to adopt. And I also think it's important to teach students to take risks, and and making sure the system doesn't penalize for you to take risks, and if you're different. And so those are all attributes which I think are important.
He understands that when a child builds a real-life project, they aren't just following steps. They're making choices, fixing mistakes, and learning to think on their feet. But learning to solve today's problems isn't quite enough, because the world of tomorrow will be completely different. Working in this industry has taught me that you need a two-part toolkit to thrive: the curiosity to always be learning and the resilience to handle constant change. This is a sentiment I hear echoed across both education and AI leadership. Visionaries like Sal Khan of Khan Academy see AI as a tool to supercharge our curiosity, becoming a personal tutor for every child.
Have known for millennia that one-on-one tutoring, working with the student at their own time and pace, is the best way to learn. That's what Alexander the Great had with Aristotle. You fast forward to about 200 or 300 years ago, we had a very utopian idea, mass public education, but we had to compromise. We couldn't give every student a personal tutor. We didn't have the resources. So we batched students together in groups of 30. We'd have someone lecture at the front of the classroom. And that's what we've been doing. And it's done a lot of really good things. But over the last many decades, there's been tons of efficacy research that it's great to have 30 kids in a classroom, but it would be even better if you could have one-on-one tutoring. That if you do that, you could take the average student and make them an exceptional student. You could take a below-average student and make them an above-average student. And a lot of folks in technology over the last several decades have thought about how could we use technology to emulate what a one-on-one tutor would do. Arguably, that's what all of us at Khan Academy have been doing for the last 15 years or so. Or not-for-profit mission, free world-class education for anyone, anywhere. But when OpenAI reached out to us last summer, and we were under an NDA until only a few weeks ago. And they showed us the technology, and they said, look, we want to do some positive use cases with it. We immediately said, look, we think this is ready to actually hit that holy grail of education, which is, can we create an artificially intelligent tutor for every child? And we launched as part of the GPT-4 launch in March. And what we started piloting is something we call Conmigo. It's our artificially intelligent tutor that is powered by GPT-4.
But on the other side of that coin, leaders like Sam Altman at OpenAI often emphasize that resilience and adaptability are now core survival skills. It makes perfect sense. To keep up, you must keep learning. And to keep learning, you must be resilient enough to let go of old ideas and embrace new challenges without fear.
If you were a student today, how would you prepare for the future?
So learning how to use AI tools, learning how to just sort of like do way more than you could before, that's the obvious tactical thing that makes sense. I think the sort of less obvious things are adaptability and resilience. These are going to be hugely important skills. These are super learnable and super practical. Like, they get much better with practice. The skill of figuring out what other people want, I think this is also like a learnable thing. And when AI can kind of do anything, create anything, then deciding what to do and what people value is going to be really important. And humans are so hardwired to care about other people and what other people create. And I think that's going to keep going. You know, some people say it's figuring out what questions to ask, but I really think the answer is figuring out what other people want, what's going to sort of create the value. How are you going to direct the AI?
So we need to be problem solvers, hands-on learners, and resilient. But this brings up a big debate I see every day at work. In this new AI age, do our kids still need to learn to code? It's a fascinating question because I see both sides of the argument in action. On one hand, many of my coworkers who don't have a coding background can now do amazing things. They use AI chat tools to get information from complex databases just by asking questions in plain English. This is exactly what I felt when I heard Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, say that the programming language of the future is human language.
I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound completely opposite of what people feel. You probably recall, over the course of the last 10 years, 15 years, almost everybody who sits on a stage like this would tell you it is vital that your children learn computer science. Everybody should learn how to program. And in fact, it's almost exactly the opposite. It is our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program, and that the programming language, it's human. Everybody in the world is now a programmer. This is the miracle. This is the miracle of artificial intelligence. The countries, the people that understand how to solve a domain problem in digital biology or in education of young people or in manufacturing or in farming, those people who understand domain expertise now can utilize technology that is readily available to you.
And that's incredibly empowering. But on the other hand, who often writes the best questions? Who creates the prompt guides that help everyone else get the right answers? It's usually an engineer who understands the model's logic and its limitations from the inside out. This brings me to a different, but equally important thought from Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. He still believes that learning to code is valuable because it's a powerful way to help kids build their logic and learn how to think in a structured way.
What do you think kids should be studying these days?
Resilience, adaptability, a high rate of learning, creativity, certainly familiarity with the tools.
Mm-hmm. So should kids still be learning how to code? Because I've heard people say, don't need to learn how to code anymore, just math, just biology.
Well, I'm biased because I like coding, but I think you should learn to code. I don't write code very much anymore, although I randomly did yesterday. But learning to code was great as a way to learn how to think. And I think coding will still be important in the future. It's just going to change a little bit or a lot.
So what's my take on all this as a mom and an engineer? I don't think we have to choose. My thought is that kids don't have to write code from scratch, but understanding how coding builds logic and how an AI is trained is very valuable. That understanding is what helps us ask better questions. It's the key that lets us use our critical thinking to break down a big, creative idea into clear, logical steps the AI can actually follow. It's a skill we've actually talked about in our past ChatGPT episodes, and it's how we can truly unlock the power of these new tools. So when we ask how to prepare our kids, the path becomes so much clearer. We start by teaching them to be great thinkers. We nurture that skill with hands-on creative projects. We equip them with a love for learning and the resilience to face anything. And building these skills is exactly what our journey here on Happy Mom, Happy Kid is all about. In our upcoming videos, we'll be diving deeper into each of these areas with more fun projects and adventures for you and your family. What an amazing future to be building together. I'd love to hear from you. What's one way you encourage creative problem solving at home? Let's share our ideas on the Facebook page. Thanks so much for joining our adventure today. Don't forget to subscribe to Happy Mom, Happy Kid so you don't miss what's next. We'll see you in the next video.